welcome to this presentation entitled Enhancing Healthcare Providers' Knowledge of Methamphetamine Use and Harm Reduction Strategies in Acute Care. My name is Leanne Scott, and I am a graduate research assistant working with this project. The objectives today are to provide some background information surrounding methamphetamine, describe healthcare workers' knowledge of methamphetamine and harm reduction from the perspective of those with lived experience and from healthcare providers themselves, identify specific educational needs required to enhance healthcare workers' knowledge of methamphetamine use and harm reduction, and discuss the implications of enhancing healthcare providers' knowledge of methamphetamine use and harm reduction. Methamphetamine, which is a central nervous system stimulant, causes increases in dopamine and serotonin levels, producing euphoria. It can be snorted, smoked, ingested, or injected, depending on the form. The drug is sold as a powder, tablet, or rock-like crystal. According to the World Drug Report, methamphetamine seizures have increased by 43% from the previous year, making them the highest of all amphetamine-type substance seizures. This study, which was part of a larger 4-year study, interviewed healthcare providers and people with previous or current lived experience of methamphetamine use. 114 individuals accessing hospital or community services with lived experience were recruited for mixed method interviews. Simultaneously, 28 healthcare providers were invited to share their experience with harm reduction and methamphetamine use in hospital through either one-on-one qualitative interviews or focus groups. The qualitative portion of the participant interviews focused on experience, harm reduction present in hospital, future recommendations, and goals. Staff interviews focused on current issues surrounding harm reduction in hospital, recommendations for change, and potential facilitators and barriers to implementing harm reduction. The data was then analyzed using thematic analysis. People with lived experience of methamphetamine use identified discomfort with stigma related to substance use in acute care settings and highlighted the importance of enhancing healthcare workers' knowledge of substance use, principles of harm reduction, and issues related to withdrawal. Additionally, they recommended specialized addiction teams and people with lived experience to assist with education. One participant stated, "I think just educating the staff better, because there's a lot of staff that are not up to jive with it. They are very close-minded. They look at you and like, well, you're a user, you made your life this way, so it's your problem, too bad." Healthcare workers also recommended the need for people with lived experience of methamphetamine to assist with education, which is consistent with current literature. Specific topics needed to enhance healthcare providers' education included substance use, addiction, withdrawal, and stigma. Examples of harm reduction strategies mentioned by staff and people with lived experience included sharps boxes, safe equipment such as needles, kits, or pipes, safe consumption sites or safe spaces, medication replacement therapy, and more resources in hospital, including addiction consult teams to provide on-the-ground, in-the-moment support. One provider stated, "If the hospital doesn't do a good job of adequately training us on what these harm reduction strategies are, then I think we're kind of putting ourselves in a position where we risk providing suboptimal care." Healthcare workers interviewed believed so strongly there was a need for additional education, 22 of the 28 staff, or 78%, brought the topic up during focus groups. 64% reported a lack of knowledge to care for this population, and all staff but 2 identified needing additional knowledge or education. In year 2 of this study, educational strategies will be implemented to enhance the knowledge of healthcare workers. But what are the implications? People who use substances have described feeling acceptance and less stigmatization where harm reduction is offered. Many studies described a lack of healthcare provider education when it came to substance use, which was thought to contribute to stigmatization of people who use substances. One participant stated, "Because a lot of us don't like hospitals, we won't go to the hospital for anything because we get treated differently." This statement reflects barriers which exist to accessing care. Implementation of harm reduction education in healthcare settings has the potential to change culture, enhance trust between provider and patient, improve quality of care, and influence safer practices and treatment. By enhancing healthcare workers' education on substance use and harm reduction, we hope to create an environment of cultural safety for people who use methamphetamine and other substances. An environment of cultural safety will improve access to healthcare for people who use methamphetamine, leading to decreased mortality and morbidity. Thank you very much for watching and listening to this presentation. If you have any questions, please click on the side of the window under the Q&A and type them in there, or come and find me, Leanne Scott, on Whova. Thank you.